Okay, is this recording? Yes, it is. Let's see. Is it doing just the screen? Okay. Not this one. Sorry. Okay. Here we are. Okay. Okay, Mara, I'm going to go through your paper. Health Information Technology, the Future to Better Healthcare. I'm just going to read it out loud and go through so you can see my changes. And you should be able to see my screen and see my comments as well. So I'm just going to go through it this way. In the growing tech boom of our times, one field that has been impacted is the field of healthcare through what is known as Health Information Technology, or HIT. HIT broadly refers to the use of computing and keeping electronic medical records, or EMRs, online records of patients' healthcare, which grant both patient and provider greater access to and insight into a patient's medical history. To determine if health information technology, HIT, is providing improved efficiency of service delivery and quality of healthcare services, records within the healthcare field, such as those of healthcare providers and patients, must be reviewed. To evaluate the impact of HIT on fiscal efficiency and rates of recovery, patient electronic records, healthcare costs, and quality and accuracy of care must be reviewed. And these are some of the most controversial issues surrounding HIT with regard to HIPAA and privacy issues, which are often skirted. Utilizing HIT is essential to efficient and effective patient healthcare because the safety benefits of electronic records far outweigh the problems of manually inputting information. This is especially true with regard to data entry errors. It is imperative that the government continue funding these new HIT systems because they help doctors improve overall health care, reduce healthcare costs, and increase multi-network communication, which reduces costs through avoiding duplication of services. The issue of patient confidentiality has always been present in the medical field, well before the advent of the Internet. In the past, patient records were written down on paper, and these papers were filed in medical offices alphabetically according to the patient's name. This took up a huge amount of space. With the invention of the Internet, it's much easier to keep patient records in electronic files, but many people worry about personal information remaining secure. However, there are increased security issues since the arrival of HIT, and this continues to be an ongoing issue until we solve the problem of secure data encryption. In 2017 alone, there were 45 breaches that occurred in 6 states revealing patient information and creating several lawsuits against providers. Just one second, you want to write out except for dates and except for numbers in a denomination of over 1,000, you want to write them out. And lawsuits is one word. At times, a patient's personal healthcare information may be shared without the patient knowing, jeopardizing autonomy. This causes low or no confidence in the patient towards the provider and the overall healthcare system. The consequence of this is possible compromised treatment, as patients may not seek out the healthcare they need when they are ill or injured. Even though the security of medical information continues to be a concern, it is imperative that the government continue funding these new HIT systems because they help doctors improve overall healthcare not only through the use of EMRs, but through other developments in technology, from better medicines to more accurate imaging, and much, much more. So here I put, for example, much, much more is too informal. You need to take that out. You need to say specifically what it is. More and more technology is becoming the driving force in healthcare. There is a critical need for funding, especially for financially troubled practices, privately owned, community-based, or other financially challenged providers, or facilities that are in need of updated systems. Why? Why are they financially troubled? What are these organizations? More information is needed. Why specifically? This is a point where you could have case studies or more research. Funded help for providers would create and sustain. That's also a point where you could have quotations, right? Anytime you need more information is a point where you can have a quote to back up your claim. Funded help for providers would create and sustain mechanisms for use of electronic health records, interoperability in various markets, and it would also improve the quality and efficiency of healthcare services, not to mention building massive technical progress. And I say, for example, another good place for either a quote or for statistics about data. You need some specifics there. Healthcare costs are reduced with new HIT systems. HIT systems can reduce healthcare costs in many ways. For example, when looking at savings, if better or more quality care is provided, that would mean fewer days in the hospital, which would cut the bill in half. efficiency savings to take both the provider and the patient a long way. If technology is now allowing the doctor to use fewer resources to do the same work, costs have been cut once again. HIT systems also make periodic recommendations for patients needing checkups and shots, thus preventing possible death or illness, contributing to the reduction in healthcare costs. By funding new HIT systems, networks communicate reducing costs. Things to take into account when considering reduction in costs in terms of communication are items such as paper and ink. The cost of paper can be quite high after a while. I would use another word other than things. Factors to take into account. Furthermore, when paper is used, there must be administrative staff to handle it. So costs for paper and costs for the worker are eliminated when a fully funded HIT system is available. An HIT equipped facility could simply communicate with the next facility via the new installed HIT system, and not only is the problem solved, but costs have been cut. Another benefit funding new HIT systems is that through the communicating networks, duplication of services is avoided. When there's duplication, there's a tremendous amount of costs that follow. There is, in turn, also the chance of duplicated errors without the patient's health records each time data is added by mistake. With the help of technology, the provider will be able to see the patient's history and service and so forth. And service history and so forth. Are there commonly duplications with printed non-electronic records? Go more into that point. Widespread use of HIT would be beneficial in bringing change to healthcare in many ways, the main reason being it is a foundational piece to many technologies that may just change delivery in the healthcare system. In a nutshell, all healthcare staff, meaning providers, doctors, nurses, and surgeons, need to commit to all facility security and privacy policies to help build the first line of defense in protecting all patients and patients' personal information and providing nothing but the best of care to the patient. It is the duty of the providers and advocates to keep the patients comfortable without the worries of other things going on outside the patient's hospital rooms when they are in the hospital trying to hang on for dear life. I said here, needs further support, about it being the foundational piece to many technologies, HIT specifically. How so? And you could have a paragraph arguing that the government should be held responsible for the encryption of patient records, not healthcare providers. If you want to. I mean, that's the whole question. You should have a paragraph about it. Is it still going? I can't tell if it's still going.